There are all kinds of neighbors, right? Some are kind, some maybe quirky, some a bit crazy, but here's a reassuring thought. What if the people you need really are just over the fence?
Hi.
Hey.
Hi. Auto, right? Yes?
Auto.
Yeah, that's what I said. No? Okay, dije. What did I say?
It doesn't matter what you said. Auto. O-T-T-O.
Ah, auto.
Auto.
Oh, auto. Oh, okay, so it's the same forward that is backwards. No, o sea,
Auto.
It's Otto, amor. It's just you don't hear that name very often.
I do.
Okay. If we're interrupting, we can always come back.
What is it you want?
I brought you some food
Why?
because you looked hungry.
Yeah, that's why we go so well together. She loves to cook, and I like to eat everything.
That was a scene from a movie, A Man Named Otto. Tom Hanks, as you see, plays a depressed, grumpy, hard-to-get-through-to neighbor who is worked over and ultimately won over by the persistent, caring new family across the street. Well, as we wrap up our week-long series, Your Beautiful Neighborhood, we offer a look-in-the-mirror moment. Are you the person your neighbors need? Studio 5 contributor Dr. Liz Hale has identified the 4 kinds of people that make up our close and connected communities, or the communities we want to live in anyway. Lizzie, it's great to see you. I loved that movie.
It was tender. I can still remember 10 years ago when Ben and I moved into our home. I still remember the couples that stopped by.
Yeah.
Right? They're just tender to me still, even though they've left the neighborhood. There's something about that proximity that just is binding.
Yeah.
Right? It bonds us to each other.
It's a unique personal time for me. This
Yes.
series randomly landed on the week that we actually moved
this.
into a new neighborhood. And there is that vulnerability of like, will you be my neighbor? You know, like, will you be that person over the
Yes.
fence that you can count on, and you
That's
hope that people
right.
sense that from you in return.
Yeah, and I'm sure that they do. I bet you have all kinds of great stories already.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
You've identified kind of these characters, and I know you've drawn from personal experience in doing so, but I think there's kind of a double lesson here. One is to identify and celebrate these types of people, but also I think there's that moment to say, am I this person, or can I step up and be this person to my community? First is the server.
Yes, that's true, right? And the server I love. And remember, in order to have a server, there has to be a receiver also.
That's true.
It's been a lot of snow this winter, right? All of us have faced. But when I'm laying there the crack of dawn and I hear my neighbor's snowblower or snowplow, especially when my husband's out of town, I just say, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Right, I'm so grateful for those men in the neighborhood that will get an early start on clearing off sidewalks just to make life easier for us. So I just receive graciously. I'm so grateful for them.
And you think of those people and the way they show up, and it
Yep.
really is more than just moving snow. I mean, it
right.
stands for so much more.
That's right.
The giver, you say every neighborhood needs a giver.
Oh, that's so true, right? I mean, I think of Sister Lamb, right? That you and Emmy spotlighted in your former neighborhood where she was the candy bowl lady, right?
Yeah.
The doorbell would ring and there's Sister Lamb. And as a child, I would think about Ken. My dear Ken, right? I was just this 5-year-old on a bike, and I'd race between our 2 homes, and he would always be out, especially on a hot summer day. He worked for Coca-Cola, so we'd always have this nice, cold, bottled pop, right? Back in the bottles. Oh, I loved
The
that.
glass
Or a
bottles.
cold popsicle.
Yeah.
I don't really remember what we talked about. I just know how he made me feel, right? He made me feel so important, and that I could just always turn to him. It just was very special. I think that's probably how Sister Lamb makes people
Absolutely.
feel, right?
People that give not just, items or Cokes or candy,
Yes.
people who give them themselves in that open-hearted way.
That's right.
is
Like, I
so
don't
appreciated.
remember what the neighbors brought. They might have brought a gift, but I don't remember that. I just know that they were present.
They were there.
Yes, and they were welcoming.
A cheerleader. Every neighborhood needs a cheerleader.
That's so true. I kind of smile at this one because I think it's the woman or the neighbor who's in your business, but in a very good way, right?
Yes.
She knows what's going on. I'm grateful for the cheerleaders in my larger neighborhood who will let me know, like, who made the nutcracker, right? So I can congratulate those girls, or who didn't make the nutcracker, so I can throw my arms around them and say, don't stop trying, right? Keep going. And she's also the cheerleader who knows names and she knows birthdays. You'll get a surprise maybe on Columbus Day, kind of out of the blue, right on your door. That's a cheerleader.
I think of women in our church congregation who cluck over my children every Sunday in the same way my mom or grandma would if they were there and if they could. And it goes so far, that cheerleading goes so far, doesn't it?
Blame those cheerleaders over your children. Ah, I love them too.
The enhancer. And I love this word, Liz, and I love that you're
right?
bringing it to the table and bringing it to our series. How can you enhance your neighborhood?
I think, you know, we're either bringing something or maybe we're distracting. So just think about that. You know, am I enhancing my neighborhood by keeping my home tidy? You know, I love our neighbors across the street. They're directly across. So every time the garage door goes up, there's their beautiful retaining wall. They have this large rock retaining wall. It's huge. It's the size of their property. And the first neighbor, when we moved in, it was just full of boulders and weeds, right? It just wasn't his priority. And I don't blame him. I would have been overwhelmed. I kept thinking we should go over and help him, but I didn't even know where to start. So he moved to a smaller home, and in come this beautiful new family from Greece, and she loves landscaping, and she loves, you know, shapes and sizes and colors, and you wouldn't even recognize it now. There's not a weed, and the boulders are polished, and there's all this lovely shrubbery, and it just blooms all spring, summer, fall long.
We love these
What a
characters.
difference.
We love these people. And speaking
Yes.
of that word love, let's end this series by talking about how we can love our neighbors more deeply. And you spelled it out in a beautiful acronym. L is for look.
Right, you know, just look out for each other and look how you can make a difference, right? Again, I think we're either bringing something to the table or maybe we're taking away, and we want to be those people that bring. And we leave a conversation better than we found it.
Here's an inspiring thought. The O is
Yeah.
overlook. Overlook.
Overlook, because, you know, all of our neighbors are imperfect, right? They're mere mortals, and guess what? They have neighbors that are the same way, if you get my drift, right? We're all the same. So be careful before you correct someone's child, or before you complain about the rock that's on the sidewalk. When are you going to take care of that, Liz? You know, just be careful a little bit, because you may be neighbors for a very long time. And what role do you want to play? And what memories do you want your neighbors to have?
The V is for vocalize. What do you want us to say?
Vocalize the good when you see the good. Vocalize even when someone is hurting. You know, don't just look away, right? Go to them and say, I know that this happened, and I just want you to know I'm here for you. Say something.
Say
See
something.
something, say something,
Yeah.
yes.
And the E will end on that word once again, enhance. How can you
Yes.
enhance the vibe, the feeling,
Right.
the love in your neighborhood?
Right, elevate, enhance, leave a conversation better than you found it, and leave your neighbor, you know, feeling the better parts of you. I think it's an opportunity to really look at this role. It's not a role we often think about,
True.
right? We think of a role as being a friend or a mother, a sister, a daughter, but we forget about the role of neighbor, and that's really a key one.
Well, I think you're the perfect person to put a bow on our series this week. I've seen you scoop up the right kind of dog food for your neighbors' dogs. I've seen you love and know your neighbors in really personal ways. So thanks for your example and for your ideas today.
We're also blessed to have neighbors, really.
Thanks, Liz.